What's up, wrestling fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast of the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. Here with a look at the Mattel WWE Ultimate Edition figure of The Undertaker. So I recently had the good fortune to find this guy on clearance. I had no problems snagging him for a bargain price for a review here on YouTube. So with no further ado, let's go ahead and get a look at the package details now. Here is the bottom front. We get this gorgeous chrome lettering here. There's the WWE symbol, and of course it says Ultimate Edition. Ultimate articulation for authentic posability. And there's the Mattel symbol. On one side of the packaging, it says Ultimate Edition Undertaker. We get some product information on the bottom. Not a lot on the top here. Again, it says Ultimate Edition Undertaker. On the opposite side, we get a studio shot of The Undertaker. On the back bottom, we get some character specifics of The Undertaker, as well as a nice shot of The Undertaker choke-slamming Kane. We also get this brief bio of The Undertaker. It says, a superstar who defined WWE for exactly 3 decades. Undertaker spent his career taking souls and digging holes. The dead man commanded respect and fear, using mystical mind games before he destroyed his victims. After all, anyone going toe-to-toe with the Phenom would soon rest in peace. Here we see the figure through the front window. Here's the figure itself, the 2 alternate head sculpts. The 2 sets of alternate hands are difficult to see, but they're there. Here is the jacket. About the only thing I can say that I would criticize about this is I think that the figure itself should have been in the middle here, but this is certainly collector-centric packaging. And with that being said, I think it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here is the figure removed from the outer packaging, but still in the inner plastic. I also noticed this Undertaker quote as I was opening up the packaging. And here we have the Undertaker out of the package and ready to rumble. I am thoroughly impressed with this figure in terms of articulation and detail and accessories. There's just so much to like here. This might be the best Undertaker figure that I've seen from Mattel so far, so let's go ahead and have a closer look at the details now. Let's have a look at accessories here, and we get 2 alternate heads, and I'll talk more about those when I go over head sculpt details later on in the video. I was actually a little confused at first by this hand, this alternate hand. I was like, why do they have him giving a thumbs up? And then I realized that this goes with this head sculpt so he can do the throat slash motion. So that makes sense. This comes with that hand. Open palm there. 2 gripping hands. And again, these all have the pegs and the hinges. This is just amazing. I really love this coat. They've got this little plastic part in here to make sure that it didn't fold in on itself. So I can't wait to get this on him and see how that looks. High quality material back here, by the way. And this, of course, this is plastic still. As a collector, you've got to feel good about all that you get for your money here. So let's have a look at the lower body here. And first of all, he is sturdy. I do this little test with all figures that I review, and he stands up to the test very well. So this doesn't seem like a figure that's going to fall over on your shelves easily. In terms of paint detail, there's not a lot because there doesn't need to be. That's accurate to the gear that The Undertaker was wearing at the time. But you do get a lot of magnificent sculpting. You can see these little sculpted in details here. In terms of lower body articulation, you get articulation here at the bridge of the foot. Some people call that toe articulation. It amounts to the same thing. I say bridge of the foot, but whatever. You do get movement here at the ankle. Mine is especially tight, so I don't want to force these, but you do get that movement there. There is pivoting back and forth, so I appreciate that. Movement here at the top of the boot. Double jointed knees. So if you wanted to put him in a running pose for whatever reason, you have that option there. Swiveling here at the top of the quadriceps. Now, I will take one small issue with the articulation of the hips. You can get him to kick out that far, which that's not bad. But, Undertaker's known for doing, the big front kick. and you can only get it to go up that far. Now, you can use the other leg to kind of rock him back a little bit, but if you're someone who does dynamic posing or stop motion, you may be just a little disappointed there with how far the legs go out and forward. So you can get him to step back a little bit, so that's okay. So overall, I don't think the articulation is bad, but I feel like especially the front kick could have been a little bit better. Let's have a look at the torso. And again, lots of good sculpted detail. Lots of wrinkles. You know, here's the design of the ring gear at the time. I like the way that looks. You get lower abdomen swiveling. Also here at the upper part of the abdomen around, the xiphoid process here. You can get them to rock back and forth, side to side. Not too much of a gap, like it doesn't look bad when you do that, to where you can see like a bunch of light or whatever in here. So that looks really good. I really like the sculpting here on the top part of the ring gear. That just looks really good. I mean, that just could have been a perfunctory effort. They didn't have to go the extra mile here, but that just looks really good. See all these like individual little like buttons, these small little straps and the little flecks of, metallic paint that they put there to render those effectively. I just think that looks really good. You can see how this looks like it all kind of snaps together. So yeah, very well done on the torso. Let's take a look at the arms now. And there's lots of detail on these. First of all, the tattooing looks really good. I'm going to assume that this is accurate. I've never spent hours looking at photos of Undertaker's tattoos, but I know there's a lot of detail there and it looks really good. Get good movement here in the hand. Certainly like that. You do get a little bit of the flesh tone right there. So it kind of breaks the illusion of this being part of this glove. And it's even more pronounced on this one. So that may be, something that varies from figure to figure. But as far as the elbow pads here, you may have to work with these a little bit. They are pretty pliable. You may have to work with those a little bit if you want to get his arm in a certain position. So in terms of articulation at the shoulder, you can get it to go up this far because it's a ball joint, and you also get this butterfly joint here. And this part of the ring gear, this is really pliable. So you can still get his arm to move in lots of, in a realistic way, actually. And you can still get it to go around 360 degrees. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think they did the arms just very well. So let's go ahead and have a look at the alternate hands. So as you can see here, by changing out one of the alternate hands and using this relaxed hand here, you can get him to do that pose that he often does to signal the crowd that he's ready to apply the choke slam. And that just looks really good, especially paired with the exquisite articulation here in the shoulder area. That just looks very realistic. That's a great representation of what Undertaker does at a key moment in a match. So as a wrestling fan, you have to appreciate that. Obviously, there's this peg joint, and that's how you change out the heads. So here he is doing the throat slashing motion, and I just really appreciate the fact that Mattel gave us key moments with these figures. If you wanted to work with the elbow pad and the top part of the ring gear here, you may be able to get the arm to go even further in. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to risk damaging this figure in any way. I usually just vanilla pose my figures anyway, but I like the fact that they try to do this for people who do stop motion and who do dynamic posing. I just really like that you can do the throat slashing motion. And by the way, if you want to have Undertaker hitchhiking, you have that option as well. So let's have a look at the three head sculpts here. And this is the one that is on the figure in the packaging. And this is my favorite of the three. Good likeness of the Undertaker there. The eyes don't look lifeless. Good sculpt. The skin looks good. Realistic there. The hair on this one, by the way, is very pliable. It doesn't hinder the articulation of the neck joint at all. The hair reflects light really well. So I believe this is the one that I'm going to put on the figure to display. This one's a more determined look. Still looks like the Undertaker, although the hair on this one is not as pliable. Doesn't need to be since it goes down the back, but it may hinder the articulation a little bit, so be careful there. Again, the skin looks good. Obviously, this is the one where, the eyes are rolled back, the tongue is out. A lot of people will appreciate this head sculpt. Hair is pliable. Goatee's done very well. Good paint application there. So just an excellent job by Mattel, and I appreciate the fact that they gave collectors all three options when it comes to these heads. So the big moment of truth for me is how would he look with the coat on, and I just think he looks magnificent. I mean, this just really looks like a collector piece, and I'm very appreciative of that. I like the fact that you have this part here, this kind of bifurcated part at the side to let him stand with his legs out a little bit more, a good solid base like that. By the way, this does fasten across the chest 3 different places. I'm not going to worry about doing that. I don't mind the way it looks like this. I did have a little bit of a struggle to get this coat on. So be careful when you're doing that. Take care. You don't want to damage these joints here, the shoulders, these ball joints. Speaking of that, the neck joint, the peg, feels a little delicate. Now, it could just be this figure, but I wouldn't change the heads on and off a lot. I think you want to pick one and just pose them because it feels like it could be something that's damaged if you try to do that too often. I mean, look at all the detail on the back here. Very good paint application. Yeah, so, I mean, other than some minor complaints, I mean, this is just, if you're an Undertaker fan, you have got to love this figure. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to do the same. Stay tuned at the end of the video for some articulation shots. And also remember to catch me on the Multiverse Musings vidcast available right here on YouTube, which includes Way Back Wrestling Mania, where we cover all the happenings in the professional wrestling world. And I'll be back to the internet with more comic book and collectible related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.